Today we're going to take our orange peel table runner pattern and do a variation with the extra fabric that you're going to have left from your fat quarters and do a coordinating pillow and learn the technique, the complete technique for making the table runner as well. We're starting with the orange peel template. All we have to cut is 4 orange peels, and we're working on an 18-inch base, and we don't have to have any extra on the edges because we're going to finish those edges with our chenille. So I'll just quickly lay this out on the pillow top. And one of the things that really makes it easy to both stitch down the appliques as well as add the Chenille-It to the appliques is using a water-soluble glue stick. Just like you would buy for your kids at the craft store. Just make sure it's water-soluble. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I'm just going to take each one of these and glue it down so that it stays in place. It's a lot easier than working with pins, and you'll see as I start putting it together and start sewing it that it just makes it super fast. Now that we have our orange peels glued and stabilized on the pillow top, we're going to take it to the machine and stitch these down in place. I'm going to set my machine at a slightly shortened stitch length, 2.0, and just stitch close to the edge of this applique all the way around. Just maybe 1/8 of an inch in. And because this has been glued down with the water-soluble glue stick, it's very easy to manage and just keep stitching this. Pivot when I get to the point. Go back the other direction. The next step is to lay down the 3/8 inch Chenille-It onto the edge of the appliques. And again, I'm going back to the glue stick to make this fast and easy. Then I'm not dealing with the roll at my machine. So I'm running glue along those edges, outside edge, just a light coat of glue, and then laying this down. Cover the raw edges with the Chenille-It. And the applique is stitched down, so I don't have to worry about catching that when I stitch down the chenille. When I get to the point, I don't have to cut it. You can if you want to, but the easiest thing to do is just to flip it and go back the other way, and that makes your point. There's no right or wrong side to the Chenille-It, so you can flip it to make your turns. Easy and fast. Okay, now I'm going to stitch the 3/8 inch Chenille-It in place on my applique, and because it's all been glued down, it's going to be fast and easy to do. I don't have to manipulate it as I go along. I've shortened my stitch length to 1.0, and I'm just stitching down the center of that tape. If it's not perfect, it's not going to matter. It's all going to fluff up around the stitching, but just, down the center of the tape. When I get down to the end, I'm just going to needle down, pivot, and come back the other direction. And I can do this all in one continuous line of stitching as I go around the orange peel leaves. I'm just putting wrong sides together because we don't have to turn our pillow. We're going to be finishing the edge with Chenille-It. So wrong sides go together. I've just got my envelope back in place. Couple of pins just to hold it in place. And then I can flip that over. And from the right side, we'll go around the outside edges just 1/4 of an inch to hold all the way around to hold it in place. I'm going to take it over to the machine. I have set my machine to 1/4 of an inch seam so that I can just stitch this 1/4 of an inch from the edge all the way around. As long as it's laying flat, I don't really have to move it. I'm going a little wider at the corners. You'll see the reason for that when I go back to trim. And then just taper it off to 1/4 of an inch again. Just hold it down so that it's smooth. And a little wider at the edge. Maybe 1/2 an inch. Taper it to 1/4 of an inch. If you're more comfortable pinning it in place all the way around, you can certainly do that. Now I'm just going back to trim all the edges of the pillow to make sure that everything is even and straight. Okay, this is a little designer tip that I learned for doing home deck pillows to have a really pretty corner. You know how you get a lot of pillows that have these really pointy corners on them? This is going to give you a nice smooth corner that's not pointy. So I'm just on each corner going on both directions. I'm going to taper off 1/4 of an inch. Oh, and I'm going to taper that off maybe a couple of inches to nothing. And I'm going to do that on both directions of that corner. So 1/4 of an inch at the bottom, and then just taper it off. And you can see that that just slightly brings that corner in a little bit. When the corner is finished, it's going to be a lot prettier corner, and I'm not going to have pointy ends. To keep my edges from fraying, because we're not turning them, you can either serge or zigzag the edge. I'm serging the edge of this pillow all the way around. Instead of binding the edge of the pillow, we're going to finish it with the chenille-it so it has a soft, fluffy edge. And to finish the edge, you're going to use the 5/8 inch width of the chenille-it. The first thing I'm going to do is to pre-cut 2-yard pieces. One for the front and one for the back. We're going to use a double layer, so this is a generous 2-yard cut. One for the front, one for the back. We'll do the other layer off the roll. I'm starting on the back side of the pillow using, I have a 2-yard cut of 5/8 and a double layer, one on top of the other. I'm going to lay this down 1/8 of an inch beyond the corner and 1/8 of an inch beyond the serged edge, and stitch down the center of the tape. Again, about a 2-inch stitch length. I'm checking this as I go along to make sure I have that extended 1/8 of an inch. So I can just lay that double layer down, check my placement, and stitch down the center of the tape. This is just 1/8 of an inch beyond the edge, so that when it fluffs up, it's going to cover that serged edge. You won't see the serged edge. Coming down to the corner, I'm going to... Now I can turn that over and cut that 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Turn, lay that, lap that over the first piece. Again, checking that 1/8 of an inch. We're going to do this same edge all the way around all 4 edges, cutting them off at the corner. All the edges are lapped. When it's washed and bloomed, it's all going to look the same. This pillow edge is laying down a double layer of the bias on the top edge, and because we extended it 1/8 of an inch on the back side, it's very easy to just lay this down and line it up with the back. And we'll continue this. I still like to just double check and make sure that I'm 1/8 of an inch beyond. But you can see that back edge, so it's going to be easy to lay that down. So we have a total of 4 layers, 2 on each side. Once you finish an edge of a pillow like this, you will do it on every pillow you make, regardless, because it just gives such a beautiful soft edge. And home deck is all about texture right now. Now that the pillow's finished, it's time to take it to the washing machine and do the final magic and make it fluff and bloom. The secret to that is an agitating washer. If you have an agitating washer, that is the #1 choice, because it's the agitation that is going to release these fibers and fluff them up. If you don't have an agitating washer, most people have the newer front-loading washers, put something in with the pillow. Put some a couple of pair of sneakers, some towels, and then put it through a full wash cycle on cold water wash and a complete dry cycle. And it is that washing, agitating cycle that's going to release the fibers and then completely dry it in the dryer on medium heat.